All right. Thank you, Archives DC, for being here at the ICA Elevator Pitch. Would you all mind introducing yourselves to the audience here?
Sure, I'm Darryl, a Trane, one of the founding members of the Archives, keyboardist, band director.
My name is Tanash, I'm the guitarist.
My name is Leslie James on drums.
My name is Puma, the vocalist, lead vocalist.
I'm Pierre, bass player.
Cool. Thanks for that introduction, fellas. Would one of y'all mind talking about how you all came together? Washington, D.C. has a rich music scene, known for a lot of different things. So how did you all actually come together as a group?
Well, the Archives actually formed in a studio session in I think around 2010. And Eric Hilton from Thievery Corporation wanted to do a reggae project. And originally it was just supposed to maybe be like do some cover tunes, and then we started messing around with some originals, and he was like, man, y'all write? I said, yeah, of course. Yeah, and at the time we didn't know Puma. And we started working on some different tunes, and I think we met Puma maybe about 6 months later. And he came into the unit, and from there it just gel, everything just worked out.
That's dope. So jumping to you, Chris, you have roots here in Richmond. Can you talk a little bit about your history here in the city of Richmond? We're at now at the ICA, and how you got into DC, and how you kind of connected with Darryl and them?
Richmond, Virginia, boy, wow. Yeah, I used to come down here and play with a band called Stable Roots. We played at venues like Martinis, that's what it's called, but now I forgot what it's called now. It's called something different. We used to play at Vagabonds. I mean, them days, we even playing at the Buffalo Wild Wings up the street, man. We were just gigging hard, yo. But yeah, it was, I think I was in Hampton at the time. I had recently come up here from the VI, and I was in Hampton, and I was playing with a band up there, United Souls, and which introduced me to some musicians that were playing here in the area. The band was called Stable Roots, and a couple of years doing those gigs. Darryl is a friend of Peanut. They played with Culture for years, BlackSeed too, and so. Like Darryl was saying, they were working on the first studio album at the time. So Peanut recommended me, they were talking and recommended me to go up and experiment with them. And yeah, and I met all of them in 2010, and they dropped a lot of work on me. A lot of rhythms, and yeah, ever since then, been family,
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's an important thing. So DC is really known as a go-go town primarily. Do any of you have roots in that community there? And what's it like kind of trying to define yourself as a reggae band in DC? Was that something that's difficult with the go-go community being as strong as it is? Or is it something you feel like you guys fell right into it?
I was born in DC. So go-go was the order of the day. But reggae has always been a part of DC though, man. Like Pierre, who's from Kingston, Jamaica, but back in the day, since like the 80s, man, it's always been a very strong reggae scene. Right. It didn't mesh too much with Kilimanjaro days and Tropics and all them clubs back in the day, And even once in a while, like Chuck Brown would play at Kilimanjaro, which really hosted mostly like reggae acts and stuff like that, after Bob Marley had passed.
Right.
Dira Tompkins, he was organizing all these different cultural events. So, but yeah, reggae's been a mainstay, because a lot of Jamaicans in the DC area for years, for way back. So, but yeah, the go-go kind of, the go-go was go-go, man. You know how it goes, man. It's funny, I remember like, as a kid, like, so many of the top like rap groups would just get booed, man. I seen Public Enemy to LL get booed off the stage for the go-go band.
Right.
It was real, man. Like, you couldn't come to DC and not, it was to the point where rappers would jump on the stage with go-go bands.
Right.
because the crowd was it was just so much about go-go. It's crazy, man.
Right, right. Well, and I think that's one of the defining things of DC, and I think that it's important that you all have been able to make such a name for yourselves as a reggae band, getting acclaim for the project that you did with, or the covers that you did of the Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson songs. What attracted you to that particular group of songs, or the works of that particular artist, you know, between Gil Scott and Brian Jackson working together? What would kind of pulled you to those songs?
I mean, I didn't find out until later in life that Gil's dad is Jamaican. His father is a famous Jamaican football player. He was the first, I think, black player to play for the Celtic League back in the late 60s. Gil Heron is his name. Oh, wow. I was like, man, Gil has a Jamaican dad, and I searched and searched, and I couldn't find one reggae cover of Gil Scott. I'm like, man, these songs will work. Right. And from there, we started dabbling in. I told Puma about the idea and everybody else, and we did some pre-production before we went to the studio, and everything worked out. It just really, and then I met Brian Jackson along the way through Larry McDonald, who was touring with Gil Scott. Larry McDonald is like percussionist, and he plays everybody from Scratch Perry to Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer. This dude goes way back. Yeah, this guy's like 83, man, still kicking, you know?
Right.
So when I met Brian, and I said, hey, man, check out these tunes we're doing, and Brian totally endorsed it to the point where he came down and played on the record and everything, and
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it really took off.
So, Puma, for you, what was it like taking those lyrics and kind of putting your stamp on them as a reggae artist and kind of rearranging them in your way? Did you see yourself redefining those songs in your own way, or were you kind of extending what they were doing, or what was kind of your approach to the vocal arrangements?
It was very intimidating, especially when, Brian Jackson would be in the studio also. But it was, I don't want to say easy, but, the timing that we were doing it, there was a lot of divide in the country once again over racial issues, and a lot of the topics that Gil and Brian was talking about were happening, at the time. So it was, I wouldn't say easy, but it was motivating to have, that certain political climate going on in the country at the same time while doing these songs, and one of the songs that stuck out to me was Peace Go With Your Brother, because again, it was a time where there was a lot of divide, and people weren't caring to have a conversation or having any conversation that has any kind of disagreements, so to a certain point in a lot of conversations, you did have to say, put your hand to your heart and say, peace go with your brother until I see you next time, until we could find some common ground on another date,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's important to be able to represent that, and particularly at that period in time when the album came out last year, was 2020, was a very kind of chaotic year. So in closing, this is elevator pitch. So I would ask you guys for 2021 and beyond, and the things that you see for the group. What is kind of your elevator pitch as a group? What are you kind of representing? What are you presenting to the people kind of as your message? Putting you on the spot real quick.
Well, it's making a point that, especially in this Carry Me Home, a reggae tribute to Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson, it's a reminder that within every generation we miss something, Unfortunately, we have these musicians and mentors and idols that we can look up to, and it's always utilizing Sankofa, going back into history, to look at the current. There's a lot of work to do, a lot of conversations, a lot of thick skin to be had. Right. And for me specifically, it's trying to find common ground with people who I disagree with, and that's easier said than done, but we all keep saying we need to have a conversation, but as soon as we have some kind of disagreement, we part in ways, And it has motivated me to try and find common ground as much as possible with as many as possible currently.
Great. That's powerful, and I appreciate you giving that perspective on it. So how was it performing in an elevator, and would you perform in an elevator again? Is this the tightest spot that you guys have ever played before, or you know.
Bookam Cafe, kind of.
No, we playing smaller spot than that. And they make it work. But guess what? There is a fuss for everything. You see?
I think it's my first elevator.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, well, you guys did great, and we appreciate Archives DC coming through the elevator pitch and representing here at the ICA. So thank you all.
Give thanks.
Thanks for
ICA
having
elevator
us.
pitch. Big up Enjoli. Big up yourself. Give thanks.
VCU, ICA.
Mikemetic. Big
Yes.
up yourself also.
Everybody, definitely. Thank you all. Beautiful.
Appreciate
ICA
it.
Fam.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, one last thing that I can ask you can put the mics down. I actually have the album over here with the poster, and I was hoping that you guys might be able to sign the poster, and we could get some pictures of you guys doing it real quick from the archives out. Is that cool? Just real quick.
Yeah.